So hello everybody, this video is going to give you advice for reading academic articles in English. So we're looking at the second stage in the steps to success, which is locating the relevant, specific and necessary information within the article. So let's get into it. This was a question I asked other classes previously about their reading strategies and note-taking strategies. And they gave me a list of effective reading and note-taking strategies. Maybe you can take a look at this after the video. Of course, it's in the PowerPoint file. Most of these will be discussed in this video, but maybe you can come back and review this later. Okay, so we're going to look at 5 things. First, always reading with a purpose, perhaps the most important thing. Secondly, understanding the core structure of the text. Thirdly, developing an effective strategy for reading the text. Fourthly, some advice for taking notes. That will be very quick. And number 5, another quick one at the end, how to use AI to study relevant vocabulary. So we will focus mainly on parts 1, 2, and 3 in this video. Okay, so what does it mean, always reading with a clear purpose? So before you read, you need to think about why you're reading the text. So in this case, your purpose is not to understand the whole article. Your purpose is to understand 100 to 150 words worth of information to include in your essay. Okay, you're going to write 1 paragraph, so you need enough information to write 1 paragraph. That is your purpose. Okay, so as I said, your purpose is to write a paragraph, not to understand the whole text. You need to find 100 to 150 words. You don't need to understand every word in detail in the text. You do need to understand the overall viewpoint of the writer, if possible, if there is one. And you need to find the best arguments and the best evidence presented in the text. That's your purpose here. Okay, so let's move on. And let's look at understanding the core structure of the text. So we will go through part by part. Not every single academic article has all of these parts. A science paper and a paper in the humanities or liberal arts will be different, will be a little bit different sometimes. Generally, most articles will have these different sections. At least they will not have other sections. These are the kind of core sections of academic texts. Okay, so first of all, you have the abstract. The abstract is a summary of the article before the main text. It acts as a guide to the text. So you should read the abstract carefully and make sure you understand everything in it. You should read it and reread it as necessary to make sure you understand it completely. So before I decide to read the article, I think I need to understand everything in the abstract. So that's your first goal, understand everything in the abstract, and then you understand the essential features and essential arguments of the paper. However, you cannot find the information you're going to use in your essay in the abstract. You must find it in the main section of the article. But reading the abstract is going to help you to find that information, so that's why it's important. Next section is the introduction. The introduction will do these things, provide background and contextual information. So often in a research article, it will situate the research within the research context. This is contextual information. There may also be background information on the topic to help the reader understand it quickly. Relevance. So why is the topic important? How is it important to the reader? What things does it affect in the world? Those types of questions. Also in the introduction, there will be a rationale, which will give the reason that the writer has for writing the article. So this could be identifying a research gap, for example, or addressing a problem in the real world. And there will be a thesis statement. So either this outlines the structure of the text, so the different things that the writer is going to write about later on. There also may be a viewpoint or an argument in the introduction. So both of those things could be the thesis statement. Moving on, the main body paragraphs or the subheadings of the text. So just notice that the first sentence of each paragraph will tell you the topic of the paragraph. This is called the topic sentence. And we can see on this PowerPoint, of course, this is a very short essay, but this is the outlining thesis statement that I mentioned before. So this previews the structure of the text. And then you can see in this short example that the main body paragraphs follow that structure. So this is a map to help you to navigate the text quickly. If you can find the thesis statement in the introduction, it will tell you what's coming in the main body paragraphs. Even if you cannot find that thesis statement, the topic sentences of the main body paragraphs will tell you the topic of the paragraph, so you can decide whether to read that paragraph or not. So remember, your purpose is to find the information that you need to write for your essay. So read the topic sentences and decide whether you think it's going to be useful or not for your essay. So again, we're not reading the whole article. We're looking for the information that we need. And the topic sentences in these main body paragraphs will give you a big clue about where to find the information that you need. Okay, alternatively, the text might have subheadings. Of course, these will also help you to find the information that you need quickly. Okay, the results section of the text. You can include some information from the results section of the text. These will mainly be in science papers or papers that use surveys. But do not include too much of this type of data. Okay, it's difficult to paraphrase. It's also boring to read. If you do include specific data, you don't need to paraphrase the numbers. In fact, it's a bad idea to paraphrase a number like 63% to something like around 6 in 10. You made the information less accurate. So in this case, just copy and paste, or just copy the figure exactly. If you do include numerical data, make sure that you evaluate the data later on in the paragraph. Okay, and then you have the discussion or conclusion section. So this is often where you can find the writer's ideas and opinions, which are very important. Again, there will be a second thesis statement, like in the introduction. There will be a restatement of the main points, and there will be a look to the future. I don't think you need the third one. So the main one here will be the summary of the main points, the main arguments, or the main findings. Of course, this is very useful. So if you can find this section of the text, this will be ideal for helping you to write your essay. Okay, so this is an example summary here, and just highlighting again that this is very useful for you. Okay, so even if the introduction or conclusion sections are many paragraphs, it could be several paragraphs, they will generally include all of the features that I mentioned in this video. Okay, the reference list comes at the end. The reference list is normally organized in alphabetical order of the writer's names. This is a feature of APA 7 writing style. So this also means you can find follow-up articles quickly. They will be cited in the text, and you can check the reference list quickly and find them because they're in alphabet order. Okay, so let's have a look at how to develop an effective reading strategy for the text. So first, we survey the whole text, which means looking through it quickly to understand the whole structure of the text. So before we read, we survey. Maybe we also check any vocabulary that we need at this stage and try to identify keywords. Then we locate the specific information that we need. So we read the subheadings and the topic sentences. We skim the text quickly. We locate the information that we need. We check any difficult vocabulary and collocations. And if necessary, we take notes or we start editing the PDF. We highlight the sentences on the PDF at stage 3, or we can copy and paste the sentences onto the document. So 100 words looks like this. If you cannot find a PDF copy of the article and just highlight the sentences. Then your alternative is to copy and paste the sentences onto the group document. So here we can see that the student has completed the document. So this is the topic of the paragraph, and then just copy and pasted the sentences onto the document. Notice also I'm using quotation marks here because these are exact sentences from the article. And I'm also putting the page number because this may be useful later on. Okay, quickly looking at note-taking strategy, get a copy of the PDF, record the name of the article, and also the digital object identifier for the article. This will be useful for your reference list. Always record the page numbers if you're doing quotations, because you will need the page number for the citation. Try to organize your notes around topics or themes if you're taking notes. And writing a very short article summary at the end can be useful because you will forget a lot of information about the article after you've read it. Okay, finally, some advice for using AI. Here are a couple of useful questions you can use to help you read the article more quickly. So the first one, can you tell me which words in this text appear in the new academic word list? That's very useful because those are the core vocabulary words that you need to learn. And second, can you tell me 10 keywords in the article or 5 keywords in the article and give me their definitions and common collocations in academic writing? So this will help you to understand the meaning of those words quickly. It will help you to understand the important information in the text. And also it will help you when you come to write the essay later on. Finally, if you want to translate sections of the text using ChatGPT, that will be okay. It's much better at translating than Papago. That's okay. You can do that, and then you find the information in English later on. So that's my quick advice for reading the article effectively. Your goal here is to get 100 to 150 words in the article, and then you will use that later on to write your paragraph. Okay, thanks very much, everybody.